right. Okay. We should be here in just a few seconds. We'll be, I think, ready to rock and roll if you are.
I'm ready. If you guys can hear me okay.
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Okay, just so I'm clear, we've got an hour on this.
We have about 45 minutes.
45 minutes. You got it. Okay.
45 minutes. Yep.
All right. I'm going to put you on speaker view, and then I think we are ready to go.
Yeehaw.
Okay. Can everybody hear me okay? Just a simple nod of your head okay. That's good. Well, my apologies for not being able to be with you in person. About 2 weeks ago, I contracted COVID from one of my students and managed to get a pretty bad case of it. I had been vaccinated, but it still put me in the bed with a fever for 5 days. I am back at work, but still tired. So I appreciate everybody being flexible. And this is one of the weird things about the pandemic that really worked out. We all had to get our digital game together and get it together quickly. So the last time I met with you guys right before the pandemic, I was not finished with my mosaic. I was almost finished. This was back in 2019. Was getting really close. I had collected all the data. In fact, I think I collected the last panel of data while I was in the hotel room waiting to speak. So that was an exciting thing for me. This entire project has taken me 7 years and I'm still not finished. I'm actually adding some data now as we speak. But the QR tag you see here to my left or right will take you to my website. It'll take you to my contact information. So if you have any questions, any of those links will get you to me. But if you want to follow along, if you've brought a laptop and you want to work the data with me while we do this, that was the goal of this class, was to teach you how to effectively put a mosaic together with both free software and paid software. So I actually got into astronomy as a kid, as a Boy Scout, through just visual observing. And one of the first objects I looked at was Orion, and it really built a love of astronomy in my life. And once it became obvious that we were going to be able to use software like we can, and we had the ability to capture things online, I decided that I wanted to take a giant picture of the Orion Nebula so that everybody can enjoy it. So here is the overview of the class we're doing today. I've entitled it Some Assembly Required. And by some, I mean as much as you want to get involved with. You can simply do a 2-panel mosaic, a 3-panel mosaic, or you can do something crazy like me and do 192, 200 some odd mosaic. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And I'm going to walk you through the logistics of a mosaic. So here we're going to do a step-by-step walkthrough. And I've got data on my website, so you can use that, or you can just watch me. I'm going to cover PixInsight, and I'm going to cover Microsoft Ice today. I'm going to provide you the data, and if you have any questions, you can stop me, or somebody can send me a message, and I'll stop and we'll talk about it. So one of the first things you want to think about when you're doing a mosaic, you don't just start with, hey, I'm going to take a picture and then I'm going to add one next to it. I mean, you could certainly do that, but there's some things that will help you. And that's really what I want to do. I want to show you those things to consider before you get started in mosaic creation. The last time I presented on this topic, I had a lot of questions concerning pixel scale and different pixel scales and adding data from different sources and different cameras. Did someone have a question?
Our internet was buffering. It's a little unstable at the moment.
Ooh, okay.
I think we're back. I think
Okay.
we're good.
Okay. So one of the things that people had asked me was, can you add data from different sources? Well, you can. You need to be aware of what you're doing and match it up. But there have been some people who've successfully merged data from different sources, and they've done it well. And it always will add a challenge. When you see these giant mosaics by folks like Alistair Seyfrog and JP, these guys, and John Gleason, and Rogelio and Dennis Sprinkle, you see these giant mosaics, you think, oh, those look easy, or that's a pretty picture. It looks like one picture. It's a lot of work, and it's not something you just step into lightly. So you've got to think about your equipment. If you're using say an SCT as opposed to a refractor or reflector, you really have to be careful about your field curvature. And so I'm going to take a step and show you what I'm talking about here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to bring up another screen here so you can see my screen. Okay. And let's see this one up here. Well, best laid plans. Let's see. You guys see that on your end, or are you just seeing me?
We see you
Okay.
and a black screen.
Let's try this. Okay, there's
Oh,
PixInsight.
now
There we
it's-
go.
Yeah.
All right, so here's PixInsight. And these are the two files that I provided you. And we're going to talk about the edge of this data. And when I say edge, I'm going to go to optimal fit view. Oh, nope, hang on. So when I say edge, I mean the absolute edge of the data. Now, this is a fit file straight out of my camera. And you can see all of the spots that it's not calibrated yet, has no flat calibration or anything like that. But you see the edges of my data over here at the edge do not seem to be perfectly round. So you see some curvature going on there. See these stars, they do not look round. And what causes that is what we know in the astrophotography world is tilt. So it's a consideration that you have to think about. So I'm going to show you a program that will, okay, let me see, give me 1 second. Let me show you. Got to add another capture here and see if you can see this okay. Okay, so here's a file window, and this is your tilt. These screens represent what tilt looks like through a program called CCD Inspector. Now, have you ever taken a picture and your stars on your corners look like a light field, like something out of science fiction? It looked like you were in warp speed and the stars were all streaming. This is why that happens. It's not the only reason, but it's one of the most profound reasons. And as you work the data and you move it back and forth, you adjust the tilt of your telescope, you can adjust this tilt effect. So let's see, can you guys get this back over here where you can see it? There we go. You still can't see it, can you? Well, we do it this way. There we go. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So the tilt, you see it's moving as I adjust it. If you can read these numbers at the top, they give you the tilt in X and the tilt in Y. It also shows you the curvature of your field. Now you can see here the total tilt, 73%. I'm obviously chasing it. And you can see that this darker area, that's where we want to be. So as I adjust my tilt device, I use a Sidewinder with a moonlight on my refractor. As I adjust that, you can see I'm moving the tilt, I'm moving the sweet spot of the telescope around. And you can see my curvature reflects that. I'm down to 6% tilt here, and then I got to 0% here. This is where I'm actually left. And I've got an 18% curvature 18% curvature in the field. Now that's a TAC 106 with a 645 reducer, and I'm using a full frame camera. So I am all the way out to the edges. And well, what does that mean? What does that mean that I'm all the way out to the edges? What does it mean that this is my image circle? This is where the image I capture is going to be presented to you. And here is what that means. Let's see. Get me back on the screen here. All right. Back over here in PixInsight, you see, well, it's tricky. I have to remember which screen to go to. Okay, so over here in PixInsight, you see the uncalibrated image. Well, I've done you a favor. I've actually already put together the calibrated images. Now, what does that mean? Well, here is the uncalibrated. Let's bring that back so you can see it. And the uncalibrated is right here. So let's look at this again. I'm going to stretch it. Now, we're starting this class assuming you've worked out your field of view, you've worked out your tilt, and we've just taken an image. I'm assuming most people in here have acquired an image from their telescope before. And so we're going to talk about adding a mosaic field to that, how we're going to add it. If you look at these two images I provided, and do take a look at this one, uncalibrated versus calibrated. Do you see the difference in the field, in the noise? So this is what darks and flats do for you in calibration. I'm not really going to talk about it, but it's very important that you do the proper calibration on your files so that you get nice, smooth shots, even noise patterns, and none of these white dots. There's lots of good tutorials to teach you how to do that, but it's very important when you're creating a mosaic. So when we're creating a mosaic, we talk about assembling the mosaic. It's one of those things we start with first. To do that, we've got to, and let me go to the next screen, talk about what we want to image. So here is a, let me bring that back up. Sorry. And minimize this. Nope, wrong one. There's a lot of screens here to figure out. Okay. All right. So this is an image of a Cygnus Mosaic that I did last season. This is 12 panels. Looks like one image though, correct? That's my goal. I wanted to show the Cygnus loop in relation to the Milky Way, Sagittarius arm of the Milky Way. And so here you see that beautiful blend of the center of our Milky Way and all that gas into really the edge of our galaxy in this dark space. But then the Cygnus loop just kind of hangs above it. And it's wonderful to see this gas all around there and brought in, and how you do that. So how do you do that? You have to, in considering your tilt, you have to take into consideration what your field of view is going to be. And I have one more. I have another field I'm going to show you here. So give me 1 second. Let me bring that up. And I apologize that it's taken me a second here. It's a little bit trickier than I had hoped. Too many folders on my desktop. Image. Okay. Same thing as before. Grab a window here. Almost there. Okay. And turn off my PixInsight. Okay. You see this, this is where you create your mosaic. Now, this is a handy little tool inside Sequence Generator Pro. I can't see the screen. I can't see you guys right now, but do any of you guys actually use Sequence Generator Pro?
Anybody in here? No.
No. Okay. That's okay. Well, Sequence Generator Pro has a free 45, I believe it's a 30 or 40 day trial. It's a really great software. There's other software out there that does it. Nina software is free, and it also has a framing mosaic wizard in it, and it allows you to assemble it just like this. This image that you see here is the image that is in the background. So if you look behind this image, and you just see the you see this mosaic of the Cygnus region, you can see what I've done with this mosaic. You can see how I put it together. And here's how this works. So this mosaic, you use a program called Framing a Mosaic Wizard. And I'm going to show you how that works. So here's the Framing a Mosaic Wizard. It allows you to build out the tiles, the object you want to shoot. So if you wanted to do, let's say in this case, you see Arriaga here to the right. That's what I've been working on. I'm doing a 28 panel mosaic of Arriaga. Actually, I'm not doing it alone. Myself and a gentleman by the name of Dennis Sprinkle are doing this. We both have matched our system, our systems. We have Takahashi telescopes, and we're both shooting this area. So I shot 1 through 14, and he shot 15 through 28. Our data is completely matched in terms of,
I didn't get that.
Our data is completely matched in terms of how we're shooting and what our pixel scale is, the amount of subs we're shooting, and the time. And then our goal will be to put it all together. You see these crosshatch areas, that is actually the overlap, and you can adjust that in this wizard. If you look at the top in the one, you see object. Okay, so you put Arriaga in there and you hit enter, and it brings it up. You can tell it the field of view you want to put in there. And for those of you who would not be using this tool, you will be doing this manually. So I hope you like math. So I'm going to give you a couple of numbers that you can write down. But essentially, does anybody here, it's a trick question, does anybody know how many pixels are in an arc second? I'm sorry, how many pixels are in a degree? 1 degree. Well, I'll tell you, it's 3,600 arc seconds in 1 degree. So if you're going to figure out a field of 30 degrees, you've got to do the math. And then you have to figure out what your pixel scale is on your telescope. And this is why the framing and mosaic wizard is so handy. Here's the second screen. You see this little button here that has a blue outline? That allows you to figure out your pixel scale. Now, that's not a hard calculation for you to do yourself. You essentially figure out your pixel size of your camera. So every camera has a pixel size. You need to know what yours is, whether it be 3.76, one of the popular 2600s or the 600s, or even the 533. You need to know your pixel scale there. And then you need to know your focal length. Now, if you have a 6.7 500 millimeter refractor and you are adding a reducer, you have to take that into account. So in my case, I'm actually adding a 645 reducer, which is a 7.3 reducer. So you multiply 7.3 times your field of view, which is your stated field of view of the refractor, and you calculate that. You're just multiplying, and that gives you a pixel scale. So my pixel scale for my telescope, if you look at it, is actually 2.04. So here you see the amount of pixels length versus width of my 600 camera. The actual the angle, that doesn't really come into play. That's just the angle of the camera. And then the scale is 2.4. So for me, I take that into account. I feed it into Framing Mosaic Wizard, and it lines up my panels perfectly. So here it shows me exactly what my field of view for each panel is. And you can see at the bottom on number 4, I can add camera tiles in the length and the width. Now, I'm happy to say this works wonderfully now. Back in my day when I got started in this, when Sequence Generator Pro was just figuring this out, they figured out the Framing Mosaic Wizard about, I think, probably 3 months after I started my Mosaic. And it was such a welcomed thing because I was just doing it like you're going to have, like those of you without this software would have to do, which is to calculate your pixel scale, your degrees, and figure out how many degrees you're going to shoot. Now you can see the overlap here. Why do I have it overlapped? Well, back to that last thread here I showed you. Let's see. Okay, this one you see the where it's put together my Arriaga Mosaic. You can see how I've overlapped. This was actually 15%. And that was just barely enough. You can see through these consecutive photos. Here is the hydrogen for this area. You can see the stars. You can see the images I shot. So I took 30-minute subs, and I did 12 each to make this mosaic. And you can see the region, the hydrogen region there. This is the same sub. This is the actual luminance shots, and a lot less detail, fatter stars. These are not 30-second shots. These are, I want to say they're 60-second shots, maybe 30-second shots. And here's another one of just the hydrogen without stars. I used the star remover in here. And you can see in this image here, you start to see some curvature at the top, and that comes into play as you build your mosaic. So depending on how many degrees you go east, west, north, south, and in your RA and deck on your mosaic, you're going to have to take into account field curvature, just like a globe. So more math, and that's really where Sequence Generator Pro helps you out. Now here's an image of those corners, and PixInsight does this for you. This is a fantastic little program, and PixInsight allows you to check out the corners of your stars so you can see how close you are. And that's important because when you go to align these panels, if those stars are all wonky and PixInsight can't get a good resolution, and if you don't use PixInsight, say you use APP or even Microsoft Ice, if a pattern will usually suffice. But if the pattern is non-existent and you can't get a good pattern there, it will fail. And when it fails, that's not fun. You end up pulling your hair out. So I don't think anybody's following along with me there, are they? Or has anybody got a computer out working these files?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to skip that section. If anybody wants to is watching this and you want me to walk you through this, feel free to get in touch with me. We can set up a time to do that. I'm happy to do that. There's really no big secret to this stuff. It's just essentially discipline and determination and how much patience you have, because it does take a lot. You'll see here in my 12-panel mosaic, there were issues all the time, and you can see some of these corners are dark and some are light. These are before what's called a gradient background solution, and that's a PixInsight tool that allows these backgrounds to match. And it's so important when you're doing mosaics. It's absolutely important to have that as close as possible. And this looks pretty good. I don't actually have the color version to show you. I did finish the image, and if you go to my website, which is spaceforeverybody.com, both my Cygnus Mosaic and my Orion Mosaic are up there. And at the end, we'll look at those. But this is the assembly process. This is how you put it together. And it is not the easiest thing in the world. So let's go back over here to PixInsight, and let's look at. Okay, let me get this one off the field. There we go. So we got PixInsight back up. So let's look at these two files. What's the first thing you notice about these files if we're looking at them? Anybody? It's pretty obvious. If you've imaged horse head, there's something you're gonna look at this and go, it's upside down. Spoiler alert. Okay, so this is upside down, and that is a tricky thing, because when it's upside down and you plate solve it, because the way I use mosaic, I use mosaic by coordinates. or the mosaic by coordinates process, and actually the photometric mosaic process, the newer process in PixInsight, requires every image to be plate solved. And here's how we do that. We take this image, okay, and we go to scripts, and we go up to image analysis, and we go to image solver. And here we go again. We've got to know those numbers I talked about to begin with. We got to know our pixel size. We got to know our resolution, which is our pixel scale. And then we need to know our focal distance. And you can see all those numbers are inputted inside of mine. Now you click, here's the trick for getting it to solve on the first go. The first trick is to make sure you've used good data. Throw out in, oh, I'm going to sneeze. Give me 1 second. Maybe not. Okay. Think about strawberries. Sometimes that works. So you throw out any bad data. You just use your good data. If you've got gradients in it, you toss it. You use the good stuff so that when you go to plate solve, it works. And if you can't plate solve, folks, that's where it gets crazy. Now, here's a pro tip. You want to plate solve the image the way you want to present it. So if you look at this, immediately you say, this is upside down. If you plate solve this image and continue on with your mosaic, and you at some point rotate the image, it breaks the plate solve. So I'll say that again. You want to ensure that your image is rotated correctly so that it doesn't break the plate solve. Now, there are other programs that APP does it differently. They do plate solving solutions differently. And honestly, I will say it's a little easier. Both programs are fantastic. They both do amazing things. And here's the sad thing. There are easy things about both programs, and there are difficult things about both programs. Now, APP is the other big software program for mosaics, that with PixInsight. And the Microsoft Ice that I'm going to show you in a little bit, which is a free program. While these are the scientific approaches, these are going to keep your stars plate solved and aligned properly. Microsoft Ice makes no guarantees. It simply relies upon your field curvature and how flat your data is. So if you keep your data flat, if you're very meticulous in setting up your telescope and ensuring that you have the correct back focus distance, you have all your numbers collected, and you have them written down someplace where you can use them later, then you're okay. And folks, I can't stress how important it is to have good notes. I said this last time I did a presentation, but these are all my notes for my Orion mosaic. And they're back from when I was counting it out by degrees and arc scale and arc second. So it's important to make these notes, and they also make the journey so much worth it. So what you're looking at here with my PixInsight data is an upside down image. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to image. Before I plate solve it, I'm going to go to image, geometry, rotate 180, and read it. It gives you a warning, and it says, you guys can't see the warning, but the warning says, the following items will be deleted as a result of the geometric transformation, astrometric solution. So it's going to kill the plate solve. It says these effects are irreversible. Proceed, and I say yes, and now it is not plate solved any longer. I'm going to have to resolve it. Same thing with this one. I'm going to have to also rotate this one so that I can put them together. But now we've got images that should line up. So if we put them here on the desktop and we look at the corners, we can probably get pretty close. Oh, look at that. Get pretty close to lining them up. I don't know if you can see it on my end, but right there is where that's going to line up. And here's how we line it up. We go to script, we go to image analysis and image solver. We go to search, click search. Does anybody know the designation for the Horsehead Nebula? It's Barnard 33. It's also IC 434. Oh, look at that. PixInsight did not find that. Let's try 434. There we go. IC 434. Should tell us. Yep, that's about it. And we want the date and time to be as close to accurate as we can get it. All this looks correct, and we say okay. And now what PixInsight's doing, and you can't see this window, but it's running through the stars, and it found 393 stars that it can determine where it is, and it has plate solved appropriately. And there it is. Okay, so now it's plate solved. Now here's how that works. If I go to script and render and annotate image, I am now able to annotate the image, and I'm gonna give me 1 second. I'll annotate it, and then I'll bring it up here so you can see it. Let me just turn on all this stuff so you can see all of it. Okay. And then I'll capture the window. My computer is, I'll show you what while we're waiting, I'll show you what what this setup looks like on this end. Okay, you see that? And let's see. Oh, there's not there. Okay. So here is what is actually going on. Maybe. Oh yeah, I gotta take that off. There we go. See, there I am. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So wow, it's like, wow, that guy needs to clean up his office. So here's the computer I built to actually work on this. It's water cooled on account of it's a lot of data, and the astrometric solution took 2 days. So my PC temps were just not appropriate. There's a wonderful video on my YouTube channel. You can watch me building this thing. And I need to make a video where I was bending the loop. But this screen here is PixInsight. This is actually me working on PixInsight. This is the broadcaster that I'm broadcasting everything with. This is my observatory in Texas, and that's my telescope. And this is the sky out there, and a bird pooped on the window about 30 minutes ago. So that's what's going on in the command center. Yeah. So let's go back to the better image here. All right. So back to PixInsight. Sorry, just to give you a behind the scenes look there. We've plate solved this, and now I'm going to add the source and show you this window. Wrong one. Desktop capture image mosaic. Yep, not showing it. Okay. Let me close this one. And do one more. Okay, so here you see the actual plate solve. So that's a lot of fun, right? So you can see this data. Look how well it's plate solved. Look at this. Can you guys make out every blue circle is a galaxy? And somebody spent a lot of time in going through all these. Look, that's a faint fuzzy if I've ever seen one. There's some bigger ones up in here. Let's see if I can find one that we can make out and definitely tell that it's a galaxy. Now, that's kind of a galaxy. Look at that. You see that little faint fuzzy there. And that's why this is important. So here you see the plate solve of this data, right? Okay, so back to the PixInsight process. We've plate solved this one. So now we're going to plate solve this one. And again, we go to scripts, image analysis, image solver, and you put, so the Boogeyman Nebula and M78 is probably our better target here. So M78 is a diffuse nebula just to the left of Barnard 33. And we're almost to the point where I can show you how to put it together. But this is important. You have to do it this way so that you can align them and put them together. Okay, so they're both plate solved now. And what we can do now is go to script and mosaic by coordinates. And we add the two windows. You guys can't see this because PixInsight is crazy like that. It only adds a couple. And here is, once you do the mosaic by coordinates, it spits out both images. Give it a second. It's at 1.4%. And here is the finished product. Now, this is from one that I did earlier. As you can see, I did not rotate it. So if you go to image, geometry, rotate 180, you can see how it perfectly put it together. And when I say perfect, I mean, can you see a seam? No, no seams. And this is done geometrically perfect. And you can see that it's not absolutely perfect. You can see how it's misaligned just a tad up in the corner, but that's okay. It's field curvature because every night it shifts a little bit as you move. So that's PixInsight. That's how you do it with PixInsight. If I could solve this right now. I'm not going to do it because that takes a couple seconds to do it, but that's how PixInsight works. So let me show you the other option, which is Microsoft Ice. Now you guys are going to be like, why didn't you show us this to begin with? Microsoft Ice is a wonderful program and it's free. That's the biggest part. Okay, so let me make another one. Desktop capture, Microsoft Ice. All right, you guys see that okay? Let me get rid of this one, make this one bigger. All right, everybody see that? Okay, so new panorama from images. So we go over here, we pick our two images. Those are the two images that, now these images, let me just say, these images have, they've been stacked and they've been exported out of Deep Sky Stacker as TIFFs. So Deep Sky Stacker's free. So these two images are images out of Deep Sky Stacker, free. They're put together with flats and they're calibrated. So they look really nice too. And it's free. I, again, did not rotate them. They're rotated. And the reason I did that is to show you how easy Microsoft Ice is. So I know a lot of folks use Microsoft Ice because it's just so easy. If you're just doing a 2-3 panel mosaic, this is the way to go. You go to stitch and it says, okay, could not stitch. Let's do both of them. Maybe I need to select them both. Auto detect stitch. Please make sure your images are taken from one location. Oh, interesting. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, here we go. All right. So we do have to give it some parameters. So on the layout, the auto layout doesn't always work, as you just saw. You need to make sure you do the proper way. And sometimes it just takes it the other way. Here you can see the images are in the wrong order. So we need, there we go.
5 minutes.
Nope.
Warning.
What's that?
5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes.
warning.
Okay. This is real quick. This one just doesn't take long at all. All right. And next it aligns them and it composites them and it's done. So that's the reason a lot of people just use Ice. It's free and it creates the panoramic and it looks great. It's amazing to me how good of a job it does. Now, sometimes it does get a little crazy. If your field's not flat, like I showed you at the beginning, if you have not corrected for tilt and made sure that your back focus is proper, you get into situations where it doesn't work. So real quick, let me show you the mosaic that is finished now. And I will start, let me get to my website and get to the mosaic. Got 3 minutes here. All right. Add source, capture. All right. Let's do this. You guys can all see that.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is my mosaic. I've done a bit of software work with it, and the way the software works for online, you can select through the tool at the top. If you look at the tool at the top, you can make it full screen. So there's full screen. You can bring up the plate solve like I showed you earlier. You can zoom in anywhere you want to in this image. You can choose the hydrogen overlay so you can see what it looks like just in hydrogen. You can take off the hydrogen overlay. You can add the RGB data and see what it looks like compared to the data with the hydrogen, and vice versa. Now this really gets cool. When you zoom in on Orion, and I'll show you one of my favorite things. There's a jet up here over by Rigel. If you go back to the color. So here's Rigel. Can't really see it, but if you go to the hydrogen version, you see it. You got kind of like a ribbon, like a bow tie. I guess it's right in here, and outside of both of these, it's ejected data. That's pretty fantastic what you can see in this mosaic. And this is 192 panels. Took me 7 years to do. I'm still not finished with it. I'm actually adding another layer of data, and it's going to be a surprise for everybody. But that is the beans and potatoes of it. If you click this link down here, back to image gallery, that'll take you to all my images. This is actually the one that I showed you earlier. You can zoom in on the Cygnus Mosaic as well. And the nice thing about that, you can see the bicolor data. So here you see hydrogen and oxygen. This is really cool because you can make out some of these. Look at this perfect bubble here in oxygen. And here is a Wolf Riot star, the remnants of it. And, you know, if you take that away, it's really kind of just disappears in it. Here's the RGB data. Again, you see the dirtiness of the dust in the Milky Way, which is fascinating. And then all of it together, and just the hydrogen. But just this hydrogen of the Cygnus Mosaic it's beautiful to look at, and the structure that's there. But bouncing back and forth is also a lot of fun. Again, this is coded on my website. It's the only way you can do it, but that's the full presentation of the image. It's too big to send you a file. It's about 65,000 pixels, which is 2.5 gigapixels, which is a lot of arc seconds, and took 7 years. So this has been a crash course real quick of all of these things. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? All right, I think we're good. Thank you so much, Matt.
Feel free to email me if anybody has any questions, and you're welcome.
Yes, that QR code that we passed out is all of the files that Matt wanted to send to everyone. So
Yes,
you
well,
can
it gets you
scan
to.
the
You actually have to follow the link to my website to get them.
Yeah, it's to Dropbox.
Yep. Yeah, it takes you straight to Dropbox. You can download the files that I just worked with. And if you're working with them and you hit a spot and you can't figure it out, just shoot me an email. I'll be happy to help you.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Can I get one of those handouts?
Yes.